up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads, and especially all you gardeners out there? This is Mr. Weedman and Big Earl with the Grow Hour. Big Earl, my brother, how the hell are you?
What's up? I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. You want to know why?
Yeah, why?
Because you came into town yesterday and bought me some new flavors. I'm about to smoke one of them right now. But before we get started, we got a new friend on, Marty from SoFem. SoFem, how you doing, brother?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right.
I'm glad to have you on the show. We're all going to get baked right now. Since you're our guest, why don't you tell everybody out there what you're smoking on?
Let's see. I got a little bit of this rainbow runts. Let's see if I can get it. Where's my camera? Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah, I saw it yellow. Yeah.
Almost. That's a little bit of this rainbow runts. Probably sugar wax or live resin. Whatever. It's super delicious.
It sounds delicious. I wish I had smell-o-vision on this show. It would be great.
I didn't expect it to be this delicious. I figured it was just going to taste like most of the live resin does, and the smell is like it smells like candy. So
I love a good torch on the show. This is the second torch we've had on a show. It's great. I love it. When we had our friend Wolfman on, he used the bottle technique. the 2 liter bottle technique with the cigarette. Yeah, that's how he does his. And then we had Hummingbird on. He was ripping his with an old school like yours with a rig, and Alabrije, he smokes his out of a Puffco Proxy like I do. I smoke mine out of a Puffco Proxy because it's just too easy. And then we had Terpfine on ripping dabs too, like yourself on a nice rig. So and I'm smoking some stanky haze that's super fresh, grown by my friend over there, Big Earl. Big Earl, tell me a little bit about this stanky haze.
So the stanky haze is pretty much done. We did a whole line with her, and I really love the F1. I took it to F2, and I liked my F1 huntings better, so I thought, oh, maybe I just won't generation this out anymore. But everything with the stanky haze is super nice. That whole line is just so stacky and stanky. Very pine. Pine funk would be the best I could put it. The haze sweetness comes through on the back of a lot of it, and just like a depth of a flavor with everything it touches, which is why
it's fantastic. I love it. I love everything you've done. The Stanky Kush Breath, the Stanky Haze, the Stanky Haze GG4 crosses. Everything you gave me with the Stanky Haze has just been fucking phenomenal, and everybody who's gotten to try it too has just been great. What are you smoking on, my brother?
I just lit up the peanut butter breath. Nice and creamy, not actually super terpy to be honest, but real nice effects. But
I gave somebody a nice nug of that, and I got a text. And you brought this by a few months ago, I think like 2 months ago, and I gave them a nice nug of it, and and they were vaping it out of a vaporizer, and I got a text message just out of the ordinary, rather than like going, "Where did you get this? Unbelievable." And one of the best smokes I've ever had in my life. Now, this is somebody from Wisconsin, so, they were super impressed and super happy and just loved it.
Nice, good. It's a great strain. People love that, love hunting them. People find a lot of good stuff with the peanut butter breath. This one in particular I kept because it was just really fucking strong, and it had that nice cream terp, and I saw it just partnering really well with some stuff.
Love it. It's just like I said. It's just I think I got a couple nugs left of that too. So Fem. So there's a Thanksgiving story about this invite that Earl wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, no, not even want to talk about it.
I want you to talk about it. We were talking about it last night. Yeah, I want to talk about the Thanksgiving invite.
Because I was like, bro, you should come over for Thanksgiving. And you're like, oh, well, I don't eat gluten and I don't eat meat. And I was like, oh, fuck, man, I got nothing for you. I was like, I'm so sorry, dude. I felt bad about it, man.
But yeah, the homie Travis was just telling me the story about how he had some family members over or whatever that were vegetarians, so he was trying to accommodate them. And I'm like, man, I get invites, and I'm just like, I don't want nobody to have to cook for me. Like, it's complicated.
Well,
Like,
see, I could cook vegan or vegetarian for you. I just gluten-free is just tough in this house because there's like bread all over.
well, no, nowadays you can get gluten-free bread everywhere and stuff. But then it's one of those things where somebody will be like, "Oh, I want to do something nice for Marty. Let's go get this and we'll get that and we'll get that." But then they'll get something that doesn't taste good, like, because you got, it's just like anything where you find out what's good and what's not, and then so it's difficult for other people to manage. It's easy for me to manage because I've been
right.
For long.
Yeah, and you got to be careful though because you have like celiac disease. I
no,
presume,
it's not
right?
celiac.
No?
Like, I can eat a real small amount of wheat.
Gotcha.
I pigged out when I was younger, man. I ate whatever I wanted. I ordered pizza for breakfast like every day for 10 years. Then I'd eat Thai food. Just like order out constantly. Like tons of fried chicken and stuff. Like, I drank a case of pop a day since I was like 14 years old, so it just caught up with me by the time I was 30.
Gotcha. Now you eat healthy, you eat clean.
Yeah.
That's the way I like it. That's the way I like to look at it. Just a good, clean lifestyle. Nice.
Yeah, it's easy.
Nice.
No complaints.
So, who the fuck are you? Tell everybody who the fuck you are. Who's SoFem? Marty from SoFem.
Yeah, so I started SoFem in 2017, but I've been breeding since 2012. I started my first company, SoFem Seeds, and in 2014. Really, I wasn't planning on being like a breeder. I got more into making new crosses because two of my kids were MMP for autism and seizures and parasomnias and other stuff, and I was kind of the mindset that if I found strains that work well for them, then I could cross them together or into something else, try to make something that's better. And just because of how our genetics work, strains that were good for my kids were also awesome for me. Eventually I discovered I was autistic, as well. I just didn't have some of the same challenges that my oldest son has. But when my youngest got his diagnosis, it all kind of made some sense to me. But so then my friends, like my friends would try the strains that I made, super into it. Then I'd get like I was writing articles for a while about the work that we were doing local, so we'd get a lot of other families that would come up and want to get oils, and then it just kind of turned into a thing. Like, I'm going to constantly keep making new strains and try to level up every single time, and then that became my thing. So by like 2016, I was selling seeds full time, just breeding full time, just working on that stuff. No more flower game, no more caregiving.
So Earl was telling me you started off as SoFem, right?
Yeah.
And then turned to SoFem. What was the what was the reasoning behind that?
So SoFem Seeds was like my reg photo line, and I hadn't even considered doing fems because I was kind of egoic about it. I was one of those guys that would it was of the mindset that they were polluting the gene pool or whatever. I didn't really do any research. I didn't understand the science behind it yet. But then when I went to sell seeds full time, when we had moved up north with the kids, I had to have fems. So I started the small seed bank. That's when I started my seed bank, the Unofficial Good Guys. And then what I did was I found these guys. They had a lot of rep in the community. They seemed like good guys. They had a menu with about 30 feminized photo period strains on it. Did a big trade with them, my packs for their packs. Sold their packs for about 4 or 5 months, and then we started getting the emails and the messages back, just complaint after complaint, talking about males, not intersex traits, straight up males. We realized we'd gotten duped. It was a big problem because of how social media is now, how the internet is nowadays. So it was technically a new company. I was a startup. It had been less than a year. We were getting blasted on Reddit. So all I could do was like damage control, and it was super stressful. And I was like, why did I even do this? I'm like, I make seeds. I'm a breeder. I could have just made the fems myself. I could have, gotten the best cuts that I could find, worked, my strains into them. Like, it would have been easy. And I'm like, why didn't I do that? So it was one of those, like, where I can't fucking time travel. So I have to just work twice as hard to fix the fuck up. So I started. I did a hunt with about 900 seeds at about, it was the end of 2016, I think. I did a big hunt with about 900 seeds up north. Got all the moms that I wanted to use. Did all the first crosses. Got into autos. I saw where the market was going with autos back then too. So I did a couple tents. Did some hunts with some autos. Found autos that I liked. Made my first stock, which was the Blood Lemon Skunk, and then worked that into other autos. So I did all that between 2016 and like 2018. Came out with my first couple of lines. And then I was trying to think of what to name the company, and I was sitting there eating ice cream, because I got to eat plant-based. So I was eating that So Delicious brand.
Oh, yeah, I like that brand. That's a good brand.
And it's really good,
Yeah.
But that's how I came up with SoFem, is I was sitting there looking at it, and I said, there we go.
There you go. I like that.
So I wanted to have a separate company for my feminized stuff, so that people wouldn't, breed with the photo femmes, and would understand that if they wanted to work with my gear, it still happens, people still do it, but at least, people that know better would see, okay, this is his femme stuff. He's got regs. It's under a different brand. Let's get those.
Nice. So the rebranding works, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to take a step back and look at things and go, okay, got to move a little bit of a different direction here. And you rebranded successfully. I like the name, and look at where you got it from. Eating some fucking ice cream, probably stoned. It was great.
Well, SoFem was supposed to be like the sister company, and that was the big brother, and then she became like the hot sister, and everybody forgot about the brother. So,
we've had a lot of people on, and 3-4 years ago, it was probably the same thing, hearing about autos back then, and then auto femmes and stuff like that. But we've had a lot of people on that are doing feminized seeds now, and auto femmes, and right, Big Earl? And I say it because for just a home grower like myself, I have a small tent. I have a 2x4x5 tent. And I'm going to use Big Earl as an example here, Earl, and I love you. You know that you're fucking a bro for life.
Oh, yeah.
But
5 out of 6, that's hard,
5 out of 6. So he gave me a couple packs of this chilled wine haze, Landrace, Lebanese Landrace strain, right? And it's just regs, and so I'm thinking, all right, I planted 3 because it was 3 in a pack. Planted 3, all males, beautiful. If you were a breeder, Earl, I was shit you not. I was shooting him photos and sending them to him, and going, dude, some of these males were beautiful, strong. Like, if you were a breeder, you'd be happy that you got these. If you wanted to like pollen chuck and do some shit, okay, dumped them. Found one seed out of all the blueberry soda that you bought to the house. One seed that might mishap. I'm going to throw it, since these 3 didn't work, and I planted 3 more, right? And the blueberry soda took, and it's flowering. It's fucking, Earl saw the buds yesterday. It's 3 weeks, going into this 4th week of flower. Buds are perfect. Those 3 Lebanese Landrace strains, 2 of them out of the 3 are males. And this female that I got is flowering because I already have the blueberry soda and flower. You see where I'm getting at here? I have a small tent, 2 to 3 plants tops, right? Yep. The plant looks beautiful. Lebanese Landrace strain that took as a female, gorgeous. Yuki liked the leaves, by the way, too. I trimmed some of the leaves you told me to trim, and Yuki loves them. My dog loves cannabis leaves. And so what I'm trying to get at here is this. You being SoFem and doing female autoflowers is changing the world to a home grower like myself, to where I don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about it. If the genetics are quality and they're great, I haven't grown any packs from you, so we're going to find out more about you here in a little bit. Yeah. I love it. So what makes me happy is that I mean, trust me, I like growing regs. It's fun. It's fun growing 120 days. But now I'm at the point where it's like, now I missed 8 weeks. This was 2 months of finding males. Yeah. And now I'm short. Yeah, granted, I got that blueberry soda that's going to be 1 plant. I'll probably get a couple of ounces off that plant. But the point is I went through 2 months of nothing to show for. I should be going into my fourth or fifth week of flower on these Lebanese landrace strains right now. So it's just a bummer because these plants were gorgeous and Earl's genetics is phenomenal. I think I've talked about this a lot to people. It's going to change the game because people are starting to learn. Home growers love to grow. And what you're doing and some of the other folks we've had on the show are going to change the world one seed at a time for people like myself.
What's happening now that's really good, just all around, is that growers are starting to, especially in the community, growers are starting to realize more that you're supposed to check your plants when you get fems, that you just like you do with you get regs, that there's a slightly higher rate of intersex traits. So just like with regs, you check your plants. So if you pop 5-10 fems, the chances are you're not going to have any with intersex traits because you've only popped 5 to 10 of them. But if you pop a full room, if you pop 40-50 seeds, chances are you're going to have at least one or two that's got some intersex traits. So now instead of everybody fucking up their whole room and getting mad, it's becoming this concept that there's supposed to be a rate of intersex traits, and you got to check your plants. So now we're getting to where people can just you make and use fems without getting into this whole this argument about it.
I love it.
That's gotten better. Like we've been able to breed that. Do you think that's gotten better over the years? Like we'll be able to breed that out one day.
Yeah, well, I think that other breeders that do fems, because a lot of guys are just doing regs and then they just switch over to fems because they learn how to do reversals. But there's still some stuff to learn, and I didn't learn it right away either. I kind of like pieced this in and learned from people as I went. But if somebody uses something that was from like a stress seed, like a rotalization seed, like GG4 or Girl Scout cookies, something like that, the progeny is going to carry the genetic anomaly. So then when you do another reversal with something like that, you could run into problems. And the guy, and really all it ever comes down to is testing the progeny. If you do a big hunt and you test them and then they come out fine and there's a low rate of intersex traits, then you're good. But not everybody does, especially people that don't have a lot of space, guys that are just starting off in some grow tents and stuff and don't have the space to do a big 50 to 100 plant hunt. I can't do 50 to 100 plants, like I have a whole network of people to help me test now so that I can make sure everything is good before we release it. So
that's pretty dope. So you started off as a reg grower, right?
Yeah.
And then you're one of the early makers of Autoflowers. And from when you started to now, how have you seen this change? Because I talked about like 3-4 years ago, like I said, someone would offer you an auto, you'd be like, oh no, kind of thing. And that was like the thing when I first started homegrown. Autos had a bad name, but then
I still see people shitting on them just because they haven't given them a shot yet.
I grew auto outdoors. And we got some nice fucking plants. And you weren't really supposed, I mean, you can, but you're not going to get the kind of like you're going to get indoors. But we got a fucking nice fucking little 2.5-foot plant with fucking Coca-Cola sized buds. The whole thing was one big bud. It was a lot of fun growing it outside.
I've got a lot of autos that finish looking like photos. The only real difference that I can tell is like, I don't know if you guys can tell, is like the stem usually on autos seems to stick out just a little bit more from like the stalk. But it's like, that's a good thing. Because if you've got a plant that's got like a 2-liter bottle-sized cola, you've got a little bit of aeration, air flow between the bud site and the branch anyways, instead of where you've got a photo with a huge cola, you're going to have bud rot here, just problems. So I can't find anything about autos to complain about.
So have you seen the industry change then? So when you started, like till now, because I mean, you started off as auto regs, I presume, right? And now you're
No, I started off with auto fems because
really? Okay.
I got into doing autos at the same time as I started doing fems.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I think it's been 7 years now.
So big difference then.
Long time, but
big difference in the industry from 7 years ago to now, right?
Yeah. Well, I kind of like I tend to kind of like I'm a problem solver, so I tend to kind of like notice things when I'm especially when it involves my livelihood. I tend to notice things. So I saw the market coming, and then I think a lot of people saw the market hit. Saw just autoflowers all over the place, saw new breeders, switching over to them left and right, and then they, wanted to get their hands into that pot. So
yeah. I personally went over, and I've said this before. I had friends that would like they're in other states and they're going to dispensaries and stuff, and it was like, bro, I was like, you need to just fucking these seeds. They started getting really good, and I started seeing people get nice yields and nice flowers, and I was like, man, these are nice. Like, and that's exactly what all my homies do now. They throw a couple seeds in a pot out back, and they grow a couple ounces of weed. And for a lot of people, that lasts them all fucking year or a few months at least. Like, you don't have to go to the dispensary for a few months. But have you seen that? You think they've gotten better and stronger? And have you seen that over the last few years?
I think so, and just generally, I think so, and I know mine have. I've gotten at least some of my lines, like I'm not super impressed with, but the terps are still there. So like I still release them. I still like them. They make great hash. But I've got at least like 30% of what I put out. It's like I can see it getting better every generation, and then I bring reg auto females in with new reversals to make sure everything continues to be stable.
Yeah.
So you do just autos, right, Earl?
Oh no, I do mostly photos, but
Oh, do you? Okay.
I dipped into autos, and I'm doing my first reversal too, or not reversal, sorry, conversion. So I'm on my F3 on my first conversion from a photo.
Okay.
Just kind of playing with it. But
Yeah, those are fun.
yeah, it has been fun. It's fun chasing the traits and seeing them stabilize a little bit because I don't take stuff to F3, F4 that much. So, but the autos I see are fantastic. If I ran outside, I'd probably run autos to try to get like 3 yields a year. There's a lot of I run autos right now with my hunts, so I kind of like sneak them in. I run and if I have a few females less, I can kind of sneak them in, or I keep them in my veg room, and it just works so well. It's like guarantees me full canopy, and I can still do hunts and get 40% females, and not be like, well, shit, what am I gonna do with this square footage?
I finally dropped beans to the cross you did with your Pooh's peaches
The Florida
with my lemon skunk tangy. Yep, I finally got beans in the ground, so I'm looking for a female to reverse.
Nice, dude. Yes, I think you'll really like that, man. That lemon skunk tangy is so terpy, and it's so dominant on its terp. It chases all the way through with everything. Well, with that, and then I back crossed that. I don't know if I told you that. I hit another lemon skunk tangy with that.
No, I don't think you told me. Okay,
yeah,
sweet.
I'm gonna send you a bunch of those seeds.
Okay.
I hunted through some of them, but they're just it was all lemon skunk tangy. So terpy and delicious. And then that UK narcotics I liked a lot too. Nice and big and chunky. And then the gas hog, I think it was.
The sour gas.
Sour gas, yeah. You did a competition with one, and I like missed it. I was fucking around and I missed it, and but I still grew out the plants. I started it just late, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna not grow these out. Really, really chirpy too. Tons of really strong citrus, but having lots of fun with them, dude. And I also threw, I'm not going to remember the name, but I threw some of your Canifam outside super early in the season this year to see what I could push. Just threw it under some plastic, and all the plants out there only got like 1.5 feet tall, but I got some seeds off of them. I'll have to go through them and find. There was at least 1 or 2 Canifams out there.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Fuck yeah. Well, when we talked about, like, what do you think we should talk about? What you brought up vibrations, which I thought was really cool. Seeds and vibrations. And I thought when I started kind of looking into it a little bit, because I was like, well, fuck, I don't know much about that. What did you mean exactly by vibrations? Was it like vibrations in the air, like good vibes? Like, what were you talking about there with everything?
Which one of us are you talking to?
Oh,
He's
sorry,
talking to
Marty.
you.
Yeah, you. When me and
Because
you were
SoFem,
talking,
the only vibrations I know is good vibrations by the Beach Boys. So if you got some fucking new technique, I want to hear
You
about
got
it.
you got to ask me. You got to ask me the question again because I thought you guys were talking to each other.
my bad. No, yeah. When we brought up before, it was like, hey, what kind of what do you want to talk about? You know, like what should we bring up? You said seeds and vibrations, and I looked into the vibrations a little bit, and
Okay.
and then I quickly I was like, well, what vibration? I didn't know if you were talking about like good vibes, like hey, like you got good vibes in the room. You're not a piece of shit. Or if you're talking like music type vibrations or vibrations in the air or like fans or what you're talking about there, or like negative vibes. If you have if vibrations can be negative kind of shit. I don't know, but I thought maybe we should clarify that before we went into vibrations a little bit.
I don't remember what we were talking about. I remember we were talking. I remember we were talking. Were we talking about an article about? Were we talking about an article about how they made cannabis grow faster with vibrations?
Probably a while ago, and I probably just brought it back up, but it was just
Okay.
something that I had never really talked about. And when you brought it up, I was like, man, this is pretty fucking interesting. And we looked up a little bit of it, and just we didn't know like how you can use vibrations in the garden or what even that means, because I kind of assumed that it was sound vibrations, but then I saw some articles and it wasn't talking about that so much, so
I remember. Only thing I remember talking to you about the other day was the germination thing about how people will they'll try to germinate in paper towel, and they'll insist that because I have it at least once every couple months I'll just have somebody that says they got seeds, blah blah blah, they've been growing for 20 years, blah blah blah, they couldn't get any to germinate, so they want more of the seeds, but they insist that the seeds are bad, and I'm like what germination method did you use? And every single time it's paper towel method. So then I started to first we were wondering if there was a paper towel conspiracy, and did they start putting something in the paper towel, like because they people we were joking around about it, but then in all seriousness I was thinking, I've been working some of my photo lines since 2012, that I've made up to 7 or 8 new generations with, before I started even uh, doing reversals with it or anything. And I'm losing my train of thought. That fucking dab, man. That fucking.
I actually know what you're going through, SoFem, because when we did the show, it was with Wolfman. I was dabbing, he was dabbing, and like there was a point where Earl took over talking, and I felt my eyes roll in the back of my head for a second there because I was fucking ripped.
I found my train of thought. Thanks for the intermission. But with the germination, so I've been I've never used the paper towel method. I've always done either right in soil or get down, sit down. It's my dog being annoying. I've always done right in soil, or I've done the wicking trays where you've got the little styrofoam tray with the rapid root plugs. I do Jiffy Pots. Jiffy Pots is what I've been using mostly for like the last 3 or 4 years. So with my autos, especially if I'm doing generation after generation of new crosses, I'm germinating with those methods, the methods that I use. So every single time there's a percentage of seeds that don't come up, obviously a small percentage. Maybe those would have been seeds that would have germinated better with the paper towel method. You guys get my drift. So I'm just that's something that's been on my mind lately that I've never heard anybody else talk about. Is I think that when a breeder recommends a certain germination technique, we should take it seriously. Whether it's serious or not, whether this is a thing or not, until we know it's not a thing, like, why not? You know, why not say, hey, you know what? I always do germinate in paper towel. I've been doing this my whole life. But this guy says get a Jiffy tray, 72 sites, fill it with exactly 3/4 of a gallon of water, you know, and half a container of peroxide, and he says let it fill up and then put a seed in there 1/4 inch down, you know, and he gave me these exact instructions. So why not try it out? And then they get 98% germination, and it's like, hey, but and if we do the opposite, you know, and then we do paper towel and then we don't get germination, like why be surprised?
Yeah. Well, we've
And
talked about that.
is that just for the autos, or is that would be for photos
Well,
too?
it would be with anything that you work again and again. Like if you make, I hate to say F1 because it's technically not an F1 cross, but if you cross a male and a female together and you make a cross and then you hunt that and then you cross that into something else and then you hunt that and then you cross that into something else and you hunt that and you cross that into something else and you hunt that and you cross that into something else. You could do all that in like 2.5 years or less, technically. And then there's been so many new generations that they would respond well naturally to the breeding technique that you use to make the seeds that you hunted, to make the new seeds that you hunted, to make the new seeds that you hunted, because you're doing the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that a few times in should you look at growers' techniques in general? Because like say you grow LED, then you're making your selection based off of a certain spectrum of and wattage and temperature and humidity and seed germination and drying process. So if somebody, I was talking with somebody once and I said, by theory, as long as somebody's making good seeds, whoever has the worst garden would make the strongest plant in this situation. Like if you weren't putting a skill or an eye into it, it's like, hey, if your shit's all over the place and your plants are still not herming and they're still doing great, then they're probably going to do okay in most people's gardens.
Yeah.
If your garden doesn't change 1 degree, if it doesn't change 1%, if you have everything dialed in perfectly, you might be making some fantastic plants. But if you're not doing these different tests, I think that's what testers do a lot. When you send out to testers, you mentioned before, if you're not doing these certain tests and saying, hey, this actually isn't responding well to a hot spot, so HPS is fucking these up. So I would at least want to warn somebody that this warm spot. But I could totally see that the seeds too. I never thought about that with the seeds, honestly. How you germinate, if these seeds have a thin wall, a thick wall, if they don't respond well to overwatering, underwatering, whatever that might be, it's going to and it's continuous. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That's awesome. That's you're right. Nobody has ever talked about that really.
Well, one thing I just thought of with what you just said too is like if you're growing on LEDs, you're going to get more of the finished purple than if you're growing under HPS. So a breeder who is growing under LED might be thinking that he's got, like a certain percentage of purples or whatever, and then he crosses into another generation and he's using the Punnett square and he thinks he's got this all down. But the guy with growing with HPS is going to have entirely different results because unless he brings, he could bring in cold temps, would there be variation there too? Because the HPS guy can bring in cold temps, he might still get more purples. But if you have, if you have both, if the LED guy has to stay at the same temps as the HPS guy, you're going to get more purples with the really nice LEDs like every time.
Yeah, more of the spectrum in there.
And I just upgraded in the upstairs room to a couple of refurbished Scorpion Diablos, and I'm seeing that right now. Like everything's purple under this thing.
Yeah.
It's all purple and black, and then everything that's under HPS in the basement is still green. So it's a totally different thing.
Scorpion Diablo.
Yeah, those they're HLG lights, new HLG lights. So
I'll have to check those out.
Yeah.
Is that why Earl told me this? Is that why hippies grow such good weed though? Everything you're talking about.
That's it.
The vibrations.
One thing that was cool is I was looking this up, right? And I found this article back. I was talking to you about a little bit before the show. This article, it came out in the 70s. It's from University of Western Ontario, and they tested sound, basically, like literal sound. I know that we just talked about this for 1 second earlier, but I just wanted to bring this up because it was fucking cool. And they tested sound and basically found that it can play a role in growing. And they found that at growing 14,000 hertz, almost doubled the growth of, it was a bean plant, doubled the growth of a fucking bean plant, of their controlled no volume, no music bean plant. And it's just so crazy how in tune everything is together, like it's so crazy how much every little thing matters. And that we've been studying this shit since the 70s, and we've never really talked about any kind of growing with. I know people say like the woman who sings to her plants, and I always figured that was CO2, but or the like, hey, play music in your play Mozart, play this, play that. I've heard all kinds of shit, and I've always just kind of been like, okay, but then you see stuff like that, and it's like, well, fuck, or even thinking about the seeds and all that. It's so interconnected and so personal that like having a breeder like you, being able to contact them and being able to get in touch with them all the time, is so vital to like a really fun, successful cannabis experience. So back on the autos, I got off track a little bit there. Can you give us a couple tips or tricks growing those? You've been growing them for a while. People ask questions all the time: size of pots, anything.
Inquiring minds want to know. SoFem, what's your secret?
So I know not everybody wants to grow big plants. I know some people grow autos specifically because they are smaller and easier to manage, easier to take care of. They don't need to smoke as much, so they don't want to have it all sitting around or whatever. And I get that. So in the same hand that you can use a larger pot to have a bigger auto and to extend the time of vegetative growth so that it gets bigger and produces more. You can still control the size and have a smaller auto by using a smaller pot, by using less hours of light. So there's that side of the coin too. If you want to get the most out of your auto, you're going to want to use a minimum of a 5-gallon bucket, like a paint bucket, like a Homer bucket. You can use like a 10 to 15-gallon pot. They'll stretch out even more. With the majority, they're not, every auto is not going to be exactly the same, but the majority of autos, in every auto strain, it's more about where the taproot goes. If the taproot hits the bottom of the pot or spirals out and starts to hit the sidewalls of the pot, there's going to be a better chance that it's going to start flowering sooner than you want it to. So the bigger the pot, the more soil in it, the more space that those roots have to move around and continue to feed and take in nutrients and water. The bigger the plant's going to get. But if you want to keep it small, you can just start off in a solo cup or something like half-gallon to a gallon size, and it'll be smaller. If you water it less, it'll be smaller because you're going to have some root stress, and you're going to create like a dry pocket or multiple dry pockets where when you water after the soil's been dry, the water tends to just find a way down to the bottom real quick, and then the taproot grows to the bottom. So whereas the other side of that coin is to grow. If you want to get them bigger, make sure you're keeping the pots not entirely dry. Like you don't want to keep them wet, but let them dry out for a couple days till they're like maybe half dry, maybe 40%, and then give them some more food and nutrients. Let the roots continue to stretch out.
That's a good tip right there, everybody.
Yeah. What do you think about cloth pots with that? Do you think that gives them a little bit more time?
So, I haven't experimented a lot with the cloth pots. I used to use those when I was just, like caregiving, just growing flower and stuff back in the day, and I liked them for that. But then I just got back into using plastic pots, and I use those black bins they sell at like Home Depot and stuff with the yellow lids, the nice strong ones. I like to use those. I just drill holes in the bottom of them, and then I've got like a 12, 17, whatever, gallon pot.
Yeah,
so
perfect. You run like an organic soil. That's exactly, I don't know if you remember, Mr. Moran, that's exactly how Mike Strait ran it.
Who?
Mike
Straight.
Okay.
He loves
Straight A Genetics.
He ran the organic soil. I break down soil in those, and that's so like enticing. But and how many plants do you run in one of those?
How many plants do I run? If I do autos, I'll usually plant like 4 or 5 seeds in one of those, just right in the soil. And I don't have a problem. Like, I know some people feel like hot soil burns up their plants, their seedlings when they start from seed, but I don't seem to have any problems. I'll dump like Fox Farm if I'm too lazy or don't have time to mix super soil. I'll just dump Fox Farm, right into the pots, right into the bins, and germinate right in those, and I don't have any problems.
And yeah, and that soil runs hot, but it's good. I mean, I haven't used it in a long time, but when I used it, I always got a good grow out of it. When I first started home growing,
fungus gnats are the only problem with the Fox Farm Ocean Forest.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
They make a lot of good stuff. I like all of Fox Farm stuff. I think Aurora is also part of that, and all their stuff's really nice too. I don't know if you ever used any of their terp teas or anything, but it's all really, really nice.
I've used their nitrogen. I think that's the only thing. Probably some like guano products too.
Yeah. They always had a really nice rep too. He was always real funny when he'd come in. I always liked talking to him, but I can't remember his name now. But
I think a lot of people like to argue about it, but I think at least with my autos, generally training them early is going to keep them in veg longer too. Some people don't like to top them because they want to have one big main cola, and then they do whatever with the rest of the scraggly lower buds. But most of mine just it's better just to train for a canopy. Get them to bush out as much as you can before you start to see pistils, and then once you see pistils, just let them go.
Yeah.
Let him go. So selling seeds, Earl's told me he's seen you at a lot of places, auctions, a lot of trades. And he said you guys all went to Hash Bash together, which I need to get out there one day and show up. It's just cold, man. You need to do it like when it's a little warmer.
It's always cold as shit.
It is like cold.
Kind of raining.
It sucks. I want to be outside. I want it to be nice. I saw Earl was sending me pictures. I'm like, dude, it's cold as fuck there.
No. When I was younger, before I was old enough to go to Hash Bash, I always assumed it was like on 420 or something because it's in April and there's 420. And then once I could finally I was off probation and stuff, I could actually go. I'm like, it's really like the first Saturday of April? Like, this is cold as shit. We went with, the kids with us one year and it was snowing. We had to just pack it up and leave. It was just too cold.
Yeah,
I had fun. I had fun when I went with Earl though.
Yeah,
that was probably the best year.
He was sending me some pics.
Huh?
I said he was sending me lots of pics. So, so he's like, he was telling me, we were talking last night. He was saying that he sees you at a lot of places, and you're at auctions all the time, lots of trades and stuff like that, and selling autos or versus selling regs. But what you're doing now, I mean, you got to work it, right? Is that why you go to all those?
I do events mostly because that's how I get myself out for road trips and stuff. Like, I'm always working. Like, when I don't, I got split custody of my kids. So, I've got a lot of, I've got like 10 days in a row every, couple weeks of time that I can just work and get as much as I can done. So like, if I book an expo in Ohio, I know I'll make a couple grand at the expo. So that'll cover getting a rental car, the time I'm taking away to travel, getting food, hotels, stuff like that. And then I make some money. But I also get out, like I'm behind my booth, so like I'm extroverted when it's my booth. When I'm walking around the event, I don't have the energy to talk to people much. But like behind my booth, like it's my party. Like, so I have a good time. It's fun. I get my packs in the hands of like new customers. I can pass out freebies and stuff too to people. The people that don't intend to buy anything. They get a freebie pack. At some point they're going to try it out or give it to someone else or whatever. So it's fun. And then I get to go out that night, wherever I'm at. If I'm in Cincinnati, then I get to pick a spot, go check out someplace new, then hop around to somewhere else. Then the next day, if it's a Sunday and the event gets out early, then we get to go check out the shopping, just go check out the parks. see if there's a disc golf course or something.
Yeah, my man.
Yeah,
Let's go.
That's the real shit, is like being able to, like, I can go to an event in Virginia, and then I can look up on the app and see what courses are there, like within like 20 minutes of the expressway on the way down to Virginia. You know, like, I'm not just in Virginia, I can probably check out some other shit, you know. So,
right.
but it's cool. It gets me out. It gets me, sometimes like almost every time I vend an event, I make a friend either from the people that are like next door to us, or somebody that was just walking around and we got to talking for a little bit. There's making new connections that sometimes put money in my pocket. Sometimes I'm just meeting new people to fuck with.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Good stuff. But we went to Hash Bash just to fuck around. We got to go, just get wasted, get blazed,
Yeah, that's what we did.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'd never been before. It was really cool. There's like 2 different hash bashes, which I knew about, but I don't know if I knew the extent of the separation of them.
We should have did the hotel event. I was being a penny pincher.
Me too. Why it was like $50. I'm not trying to put any shit out there. It was expensive. It was more expensive than I thought it would be to get in, dude.
Yeah, it might have only been $30. My buddy that went there was telling me he didn't think it was 50. But either way, like, at that point, we had already, we'd smoked a lot. We were hungry. We had went to a bar, got a drink and some food, and we're having a good time, just chilling, talking. They were like just going out and smoking a cigarette. Like, I met a breeder, like just a local guy from Ann Arbor, just made a couple crosses, doesn't sell anything or have his name out there, whatever, but he was walking around with a sandwich bag full of seeds, just handing them to anybody that wanted them. And it was a legit sweet cross. It was something with pineapple, right? Probably Pineapple Express, pineapple something, Blue Dream. I can't remember what else was in there, but it's a good cross. I popped some seeds that I've actually got in the seedling stage in the basement right now of it. So nice. That was just going outside with the homie to smoke real quick, and just somebody walking up. So like Hash Bash is super good vibes. There's like, it's always been that way in Ann Arbor though. Like even when there's before we had medical, it was still easy to go to Ann Arbor for Hash Bash, be able to smoke a joint outside without getting in any trouble.
Well, you folks in Michigan know how to fucking make some really good hash.
Yeah.
You folks in the Minton, boy, I tell you, I've got some really good hash out of fucking Minton.
My brother does hash, and he's got a press and does the rosin. I've got some. I got some of my GM Oreos hash rosin right now, so it's like super awesome. But we waited too long to press it, so it tastes like absolute shit. It tastes like the way hash smokes. I'm like, so I'll take a fat dab of it, but then I got to take a dab of something that like tastes good afterwards, just to get the candy back in my mouth.
Yep, I got you.
Do you? Is it cool if we go over the colloidal silver technique that you use? Because I feel like there's almost everyone I talk to uses STS. And so it would be cool to hear the colloidal silver, and so people can compare it a little bit. Because I've never used that. I'll tell my story about it because it was not successful. I tried to make colloidal silver. I never tried to spray it. I tried to make it, and I got like a battery and hooked it up to these little pieces of silver wire and put it in some fucking distilled water. I couldn't get my parts per million high enough to what the little book said I needed them to be. And then I got lazy. I was like, well, I'm going to be lazy about it. But I would love to hear, because when I talked to you before, you made it seem like it was maybe a little bit more of a gentle application than an STS or something. I mean, hopefully I'm not speaking wrong, but.
No, you're good. There's not a lot of science really to the reason I switched over to colloidal silver. So I was using STS, but I'm a creature of habit. Like once I find a safe whatever, to use, then that's what I just go with. I'll just buy the same thing over and over again. It takes something happening to get me to switch to something else. So I was using the Terracea's Mist. I was getting it mostly from Amazon because it was just easy. It was a better deal than anywhere else, and then right to my house. And then for probably maybe at least three and a half years, I'm using the same product. No issues. Every time I do a reversal, exact same thing. Spray for, wait until all the autos are like 2 weeks into flower so I can see which ones are worthy of a reversal. Start hitting them right at the 2 week point so that like 3 weeks into spraying them, I've already got, male flowers forming everywhere coming out of the bud sites. And I'm good to go. Because if you wait too long, then it's harder to get the reversal going, and if anything, you just get stamens. So I had no problems every time for like 3.5 years, and then I'm using the Tertius Mist, and I go to do a whole project where I probably hunted at least 150 seeds, ended up with 15 to 20 females. And I've got the room ready. I'm doing the reversal, and it just doesn't take. And I'm like, oh shit, that's never happened before. So then a few months go by. We've got another project all set up. I'm trying to make up for lost time, so I'm just went right into another project. Do the reversal again, same thing. It doesn't take. Luckily, I had a backup project going because that's how I am. I'm always like, I can't fuck myself over twice. So then the backup project a month later, I do the reversal. It doesn't take. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I think there was one more project. Maybe there was one in between where it worked, but I think there was one more project where I put all this work into it, had all these plants, spent all this electricity, just all this time, and it didn't reverse. And I figured it all out. I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. I did the same thing I'm always doing. So then I was thinking maybe this Amazon supplier has been watering it down, and I'm like, bingo, that's what it has to be. That makes sense. Like, so I go to a local store in Ypsilanti and get the or not Ypsilanti, Whitmore Lake, I think it is, and then I get a bottle of it there in person, same 4-ounce bottle that I was ordering from Amazon. Do another product. Yeah, so this is what the next one was. It was So I had maybe one in between that worked, and then I got the one from this store. Started the project, thought everything's going to be fine. I got this one from a totally different store, supplier, everything, and same thing. It didn't take. So I didn't want to get into it. I was so frustrated that I didn't want to even think about anymore. Like, what could the problem be? Like, is it the company itself that started watering down its own product? Like, why would they do that? It doesn't make sense. Did I do something wrong that I can't think of? I couldn't figure it out. So I had gotten a sample of colloidal silver. I was doing a Gene Traders event over in Detroit, and I'd gotten a free sample of this from this new company called Spaceberry Canna, and they gave me I think a 8 or a 16-ounce bottle of it or something, and said, go crazy, let us know what you think. So I tried it out, used it. This time I planned in my head of having to spray it down for 3 weeks, but what I realized as I was using it is I could be more generous with it because the cost was the price point was so much better than the Tertius Mist and the STS. So I was also able to be more generous with it. So I found that the reversal was taking me the same amount of time with the colloidal silver as it was with the STS. And then you had asked if there was any difference in the plants. I noticed as long as I don't drench the fan leaves with the colloidal silver and I just kind of spray the bud sites and just a little overspray hits the fan leaves and stuff, the fan leaves continue to look like immaculate all the way through the whole reversal. Whereas with the STS, if I get the fan leaves at all, they start to curl up. They start to look leathery and different. And then it kind of makes you think once you have pollen coming out of it and your plant looks a little bit more stressed or mutated, you kind of think, well, I wonder,
Yeah.
So basically for me, it was just I tried a new product and it worked, and I was having problems with the other product, and I said, this is my new product. So I've been using the same Spaceberry Canna colloidal silver for 3 years now.
It's
Nice.
working.
Yeah, no shit.
You said you like to correct things, don't you?
Yeah.
So you spray
I have no problems with it.
Yeah, you spray just the flower sites then, a little bit.
Yeah, I spray just so if I'm doing a photo reversal, it's different because I can do a hunt with a bunch of regs, and then I can flower everything, take cuts of everything right after flip, and then clone them. And then I can flower everything, and then I can have the clones going in a separate area. And then halfway into flower, I can go back through all the females that are flowering, decide which ones are keepers, because it's only going to be maybe 5 to 10% of the females that are flowering that are going to be worthy of something. And then so I go back to the clones and I throw out all of the clones that came from the females, that the 90% or whatever. And then I've got just the keepers. So then I can grow those back out and then take some more cuts to clone so that I have it so that I can keep it. And then I can reverse that mom while she's still in veg. So then I just lightly spritz the little bud sites, the shoots as they're growing up for about a week and a half or so. And then I can do a flip and then continue to, I'll do, like every few days I'll spray the whole plant down really good just to make sure I'm getting everything. But for the most part, I'm just spraying the bud sites down. And then by the time she's flipped and she starts showing sex, I'm seeing male flowers. But with autos, it's I wait till about 2 weeks in, because I don't want to, the only alternative if I don't wait till 2 weeks in on the autos is I could start the reversal right when I see pistils and I know that it's a female. But then the ones that don't turn out, I'm just throwing away fully seeded plants, so it's just, it feels wasteful. It feels like it's an easier process to start hitting them when they're about 2 weeks in and I can actually see which ones I want to work with.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's the hardest part of autos, and like it was even
is making them.
Well, it's like getting what plant do you want to breed with? What female or reverse? What plant do you want to? Because you got one shot at it, you have to predict it. If you've grown it out before, you might be able to say, well, I like the plant that shows this leaf structure usually, or something like that. But if you haven't grown it out before, then you're just kind of being like, it's just kind of like, well, this one's real strong, this one's real terpy, shit like that. So it's always way more complicated with the autos. I think it's much harder because you can't clone them like you just said.
Okay, I've seen some guys that are doing it, but it's like I don't even have time to do it just as a fun little experiment or whatever, because you'd have to time it out so well. Like you would think in your head, because there's supposed to be a pre-set clock to when it starts flowering, that if you took the cuts at 20 days and then the mom flowers at 25 days, then as soon as the clone roots, she should start flowering like 5 days later. But everybody that does it says that's not what happens. They say the clone that they take continues to veg out for a few more weeks, gets just about as big as the mom does, or the mom did, and then they take another cutting from it before it flowers, and they did the same thing again. But even if that's 100% true, because I remember seeing pictures, so even if people are doing that, you'd have to time it out perfectly. Like you'd have to get that cutting before you see pistils every single time, and get it into another room under the right conditions, and turn it into a clone, and then put it back into the same conditions that you had the mom in. You'd have to, like I can barely like keep up with making clones of the moms that I have to keep everything in rotation, let alone all that madness.
Yeah, that'd be wild. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
What do you got coming down the pipe? What new projects?
So for photo releases, I just released this one, the new Oreos McFlurry, and we've got the Panther Piss, which I'm excited about, the Cheetah Piss cookies cut crossed into the Oreos 1.0 breeder cut, and then with this fizzy lifter.
I like your packaging.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. I upgraded all the packaging this year, so it's like I don't have one handy to open up, but I'll open this one up. We'll do a giveaway with it. So I upgraded the packaging this year, and I put a lot of like thought into it. Like I wanted to do something really cool, and it really turned out. So it's like a joint case or like a blunt case, and then
Yeah.
you pop this little tab, open it up, and then you've got your seeds. So then you pull the seeds out, you plant them, you put this in the sock drawer or whatever for 4 or 5 months, and then once you've got it dried and cured, and you're rolling up some joints or stuff in pre-rolls or whatever, you pull this back out, and you've got your strain-specific little joint case. And
that's fucking genius.
Yeah,
that's fucking cool. Nice job, SoFem. I like that. I noticed it right away. I'm like, it's a different packaging right there. And I tell you what, breeders we've had on this show, some of you all, man, have done really nice work on your packaging. It's impressive, the care and the here you use something to be able to use something again, so it's not wasteful.
That's what I'm into.
Yep. Yeah, that's
with my autos. I'm paying for the stickers, and then I'm paying for the Mylars, and it's still pretty cheap to put those together. I can do that stuff at night when I just want to sit out and watch some Trailer Park Boys and veg out and sit there and just do stickers. But it's like it's just wasteful. It's all getting thrown away, So I'm like, with this, the only part I couldn't manage was the sticker. The cost of the stickers, and then keeping up with getting the stickers and time and stuff was too much. So I'm like, you know what? I looked into what I would need to make my own, and I got the printer, and I got the Cricut Explorer 3. So now I'm like a crafter in my living room, and I'm just every night when I've got the TV on, just like tuning into some bullshit just to have in the background or whatever. I'm just running my own stickers, page after page, sheet after sheet, doing my own packs, and I'm into it. Like it's a good life.
Fucking tell me about it. Yeah. Like I said, I like the packaging. Plug away. Where can we find you at? Where can people find you? You got a website? You're on social media? What's up?
Yeah, so you can find me a lot of places on social media. There's a couple of Instagrams. One of them is disabled right now. The last guy from India that I had that could get my accounts back for me is not. I think he lost his connect at Facebook or whatever. So right now I've got the at SoFem Genetics, and then there's an at SoFem Genetics _official Instagram. I'd follow me on both of those because you know how Instagram is. You could just wake up and it's gone, and sometimes you can't get it back. On Facebook, I've got a couple of accounts. There's SoFem Genetics where it'll say my name, Martin West. There's a little picture of a Lego guy on there as the profile pic, and then SoFem the Commander. You can find me on there. We have a Facebook group. It's really cool. We do a lot of auctions in the group too. A lot of first claims where you can get gear from us and all kinds of other breeders. Where the auctions start off at half price, and if they don't get any bids, they go right to first claim. So it's an easy way to score some deals. That's called if you search bar type SoFem official home group, it should pop up. If you need a link to it, just find me, on social media, ask me for it. My website, my seed bank site is theunofficialgoodguys.com. If you type in SoFemGenetics.com, it'll get you there too. We're also carried by a handful of seed banks. If you're in the U.S., Multiverse carries us. I should have wrote this down. I can't think of the other guys. Multiverse carries us. If you're in Minnesota, Soda Bean Company carries us.
Who's
really
your
actually? If you Google SoFem Genetics, actually you get a couple of pages of different seed banks to carry us. So that's the best way to find out.
What about internationally? You know anybody internationally?
So for Australia, Oswald on Instagram. I think it's Oswald or Australia or _Australia. You can get packs from him. We did a lot of business in Australia for a few years, and then in 2021 they had a lot of bad luck with the feds over there. So for Australians, usually I say just order direct from us. I've never had any international first class international packages seized other than Trinidad and Tobago's, because their customs there is just insanely corrupt. They go through everything. But most of the time there's not even a customs issue. It just disappears. But I've never had any problem with Australia, with New Zealand. most of Europe, it easy. So if you're
That's right.
international, ordering direct is easy. If you hit the website, it won't until we have a regular payment processor on the site. It only takes U.S. orders, but you just send us an email and we'll work with you.
Sweet. I love it.
Yeah.
You said something real quick before we say goodbye. Social media. So many breeders and growers, and even myself, have lost accounts.
Yeah.
Here's the crazy thing. Why do we still use these fucking social media platforms if they don't like us?
We have to,
I know I
because
have to. I know.
yeah, I mean, I don't use my personal accounts much at all anymore. I'm just over it. I have to use my business accounts because you can't get people off of social media. Like,
No, I know.
yeah, they're just on it all day. They're accustomed to it. They scroll. They talk to their friends. They use the phone feature and Messenger. Like Facebook, came out with so many. They came out with a feature for everything. People get their news from Facebook, which is ridiculous. So they're just on it all day anyway. Um, they came out with that cookies app, the social,
Yeah.
club or whatever. We were waiting for that for a couple of years. We knew about it, just waiting for it to come out, and then it just randomly came out one day. And we thought, sweet, here it is. Let's make an account. And tried using it for like over a month. Didn't have a single actual message on it, other than some scammers trying to sell me pounds of alleged shipped, flour. So
Yeah, I know. I get frustrated with in hearing when I mean, like I said, I lost my main account and had to start all over, and hearing it from guys like Terp, yourself, so many. I mean, I can name so many that we've talked to, and we just keep on like going back to them like suckers. It just drives me nuts.
well, you can get your Instagram accounts back now. You just have to pay for them, so it's like a racket. So we figured out that it's like obviously most of Facebook operations is in India. So there's people that are like they're just hustling, So they're like, well, hey, we can turn accounts back on. I don't know if they can turn them off, but they can turn them back on. So they'll send you a message if you put in your profile on your new account. Lost my other account at 8K or whatever. These guys like sit there and they go through accounts looking for that kind of stuff in people's profiles, and then they send you a message saying, "Hey, I can get your account back for $300 or $500 or hold on, sorry, that was my battery going low." They'll be like, "I can get your account back for $300. You don't have to send me any money until I get your account back." Well, that's a hard deal to turn down. So I've been trying to get my account back for like 8 months. And I said, you know what? If you can get it back, yeah, I'll give you $500. The next morning, my account was back up. I'm like, no joke. I'm calling all the homies. I'm like, bro, I had almost lost my farm this last summer over losing that account, like right when spring started, and that was my whole customer base on Instagram. Like all the money I was counting on just vanished into thin air. So then I
Right.
just wake up the next day and get this account back, and all I had to do was send this guy some money, just cash app him some Bitcoin. So, and then we figured out the Facebook problem by it's not going to work for everybody, but as far as like breeders and vendors and shit, we can just sponsor other groups. So I sponsor a lot of groups that have up to 5,000 or 10,000 members or more. So if I lose an account on Facebook, when I make a new one, I can go into my groups and say, "Hey, please shout me out," and everybody, follow the new account, and then you can get you're not going to get all your following back overnight, but at least it's a big boost to help get you back in front of all the people that you're used to being in front of.
Right. Yeah. I know
But
it
it
sucks.
sucks. You're right. It sucks.
It sucks. I know it sucks.
Terrible.
Trust me,
Yeah.
I get aggravated every time I go on it because I just look at that number and I'm so shadow banned too. It's like it's not even fucking funny. It's just garbage.
Yeah.
So I always say to myself, I'm like, we should just, there's a lot of us out there should just be like, see ya.
Yeah.
And watch what they do.
The stress equivalent of like losing an Instagram at like 8,000 followers is like a house fire. Like it's like having something just disintegrate right in front of you.
It took me 3 years to get to 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And when I lost that, I was like, whoa. And those were real people. Those weren't just like fucking a bunch of, those were like people that like had relationships with and talked to people all the time and like DMs, and it was a pretty big deal for me. Remember Earl? I was fucking crying, man. But man, we appreciate you being on the show, brother. We really do.
I appreciate you having me, man. It was good to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for getting stoned with us and lighting a torch up on screen. I love it. I love it. Big Earl, man, I tell you what, brother, what's the thing you gotta do when you're growing autos?
We gotta, I think Marty will attest this too. Extra cow mag, triple, quadruple, everything. It doesn't matter what kind of pot, what kind of plant. Cow mag.
Hey, everybody out there, we love you. Don't forget the cow mag. Peace. Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome, long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.